Good Friday morning of the 33rd week. I'm going to read, this is a short gospel by Luke here, this passage. But I'm going to tease a little bit about it, okay? It throws me, I go all the way back to my childhood when I read this text. Let me show it to you. You probably know it. And you have your own examples. Jesus entered the temple area, proceeded to drive out those who were selling things, saying to them, "It is written, my house shall be a house of prayer, but you have made it into a den of thieves." And every day he was teaching in the temple area. The chief priests and the scribes and the leaders of the people, meanwhile, were seeking to put him to death. But they could find no way to accomplish their purpose because all the people were hanging on his words. Now, what is the thing about that? I don't know about here in St. Louis, but in Connecticut, at least in the 50s, we did have money changers. They used to sit in the foyer of the church because you'd come in and you'd want to, remember people were giving nickels and dimes and quarters and half, and hence they'd give $1 and the guy'd give them change. But they didn't give him $1 worth of change, they gave him 85 cents worth. So you knew that that was going to happen. So there were money changers. I think about it now, nothing wrong, nothing illegal, nothing, anything. But I think if they read this gospel, you start to think, what? The money changers. And in some ways, it's a stark warning. You don't want the church to descend into just a social organization. I'm thinking about the things that are so wonderful about the church as she creates community, but ultimately, it's a community of faith at the altar. One of the things that so impressed me about St. Tim's when I got here 53 years ago, was the commitment of the laity in supporting the church financially and creating a neighborly community. I was really struck by it. I have to say that because I did priest retreats in Baltimore for 2 years. I was on the retreat house team in St. Joe's. I did not have a favorable impression of parishes. I got to tell you, I did not. And I thought, forget it. I ain't part of them. I really got the whole thing and the clergy and all the rest. I had a bad impression. Why? I don't know. Maybe my vanities thought I was a big shot. Anyway, I got to Timmy's with no intention of ever getting involved in the parish. I just needed a roof over my head while I got my PhD at SLU, St. Louis University. And the pastor said to me, I told you this story, go out and meet the people, become friends with the people. There's nothing for you here in the rectory. And he was right. So I went out and I met Dick Heinrichs on the ball field. He was coaching his second grader, Kurt, in baseball, soccer or baseball, I don't remember. And I began to see the life of the parish very often was on the ball field. And it was in the organizations, the Ladies Guild, the Men's Club, and the fundraising that they would do for the parish, and the work they put in to make it a going concern. I began to see this is the life of the faith. This is a community of faith and love and energy. And energy. These men and women, from the youngest, not the little kids, but really from high school on, they were active agents of the church. They made an active difference in the enrichment of the life of the community and the church, the neighborhood. You couldn't understand Indian Hills in St. Louis, Indian Hills, without knowing the role that St. Timothy's, the parish, played in it. Absolutely. It helped. It wasn't the only religion. We had some Protestant denominations there too, but there was no question Timmy's played a central, significant role in the formation of a neighborhood where people looked out for each other. People knew who was hurting, and they took care of the people that were hurting. That's the truth. I saw the life of the parish, how people looked out for each other, looked out for each other's property. No crime was allowed, and you knew it out there. If you were walking on one of the streets in Indian Hills and you didn't belong there, there'd be 500 eyes on you. Not that they're going to do anything, but you weren't either. It was wonderful, and how they supported the school. I had no real affection or respect for Catholic schools. I didn't. The 2 years on the retreat work despoiled me of any kind of optimism about them. I got here and I saw what Timmy's was. What an incredible grammar school. The sisters we had here were phenomenal teachers, and these kids were being all trained to go into the best high schools and from there to the colleges. They did a phenomenal job, and the laity built the school, provided the revenue for it, sports teams. You had to see, they had we still have the spring festival. It's about 12 straight hours of festa, a real feast. The games, the booths, the food, etc. They all came from the laity. All the clergy did was show up. That was me. What a wonderful experience. We still have it. But I guess for me, it was primal. It was the first time I really experienced a parish. And since I belonged there, I was living there in the church, in the rectory. Even though I was going to school, I was seeing the parishioners in a way I hadn't seen them before. I saw their leadership in the parish, both their moral and spiritual leadership, but also their the economic leadership. How they would organize, how they would raise money, not for themselves, they're raising it for the parish. How they funded the school. That's true, and it lasted multiple generations. I think it's still there. I don't know if it's as strong, but I'm not as closely involved anymore. I don't know. I think so. I have to believe so, but I saw how fiercely intense it was when I got here 50 years ago, because I lived here. I lived in the rectory. I was right there. I'd look out the window and I'd see the kids playing soccer out in the parking lot or in the backyard. I'd go out and watch them for a while. See? The life of the parish, the life of the church, the life of a neighborhood. People together. Yeah, people together. That's the truth. I love St. Tim, St. Mark's. It was one of the great gifts in my life. That I was only looking for a roof over my head. And I found a home. And still a home for me. 53 years later. Still home for me. I loved 4 generations. I knew and buried the founders of the parish. And now we got the 4th generation after them. That's the truth. What a privilege. And I've never been assigned there. Nothing. Just the goodwill of the pastors. The pastor says, you're out. I'm out. I can't go to the bishop and say, you kicked me out. So what? You weren't there in the first place. You don't belong there in the first place. See? It's not like SLU where I have a contract. I don't have a contract with St. Mark's. Nothing. It's the goodwill of the pastor. And the pastors have been so good to me over the years. They have welcomed me as a fellow brother in the service of the church, each in their own way, always in my way. That's the truth. What a gift. That's the truth. At times, we had to clean a little bit of house, meaning we did have our issues, okay? But in all issues, I think the charity and the faith came together. The church flourished. Sometimes there was a lion in the monastery despite the clergy. That's an exaggeration. Of course, it's just a cute line. The church survives despite the clergy. Well, historically, you might say that. That wasn't the case at Timmy's or St. Mark's. We had good guys there who worked well with the people. And the people were generous, and they still are. You can't tell the story of the Union Road parishes without talking about the people of the parish and the service that they rendered, the sacrifices they made, the good that they did, and the excellence they expected from the schools. St. Timothy's had one dickens of a good school. Believe me. It was elite. It was first rate. That's the truth. Anyway, just sharing a thought.